It is time for the review ring to get busted in 60 seconds.
This is the W2 Report with Sanji Homura. Here's Sanji.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the W2 Report. I am your host, Sanji Homura. Today, we are going to take a look at the Abzor review ring with MellowOnline1, who will join us in a couple of minutes. But first, we have to go over some ground rules with Lord Crocker Squirrel, as always.
Rule number 1, do not be the fucking dick. Rule number 2, if you have questions about rule number 1, please refer to rule number 1. No, you can't decide to be super dick or mega dick or omega dick just to get around rule number 1. You're still being a dick.
Please do not go after anybody we talk about here today, because we will be talking about game developers and their actions today, or we will disavow any knowledge of your existence. Okay, let us bring in.
Speed.
Let's bring on our third man in the ring, Mr. Vaughn.
Well, I guess this stream is officially full steam ahead. I'm very happy with that one.
I can tell.
Thanks, man.
Let us bring on Mr. Lindgren.
Joke's on you, Croc. I'm Tricky Dick.
Ah, that still makes you a dick. So guess what?
Damn it.
I'm going to
again.
Talk on your ass. Really?
Oh, crap.
On you.
Crap. I'm also committing treason, too.
Yeah.
Nice. 2 for 1.
I think there goes our monetization anyway.
What monetization? This channel isn't big enough to even ask for it. But still.
All right, let us bring on our guest for this evening. Let us bring on Mr. MellowOnline, who is the original OG of the W2 Report, but he is founder of Sentinels of the Store.
Hey there, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, before we go on to our question of the day, let us hit a couple of points on the chat.
We has a Raz and a Surveillant Death.
Yes.
And Pro Soldier with the Ghosty Shock thing.
Yes.
That's because they're a pro, man.
Yeah, well.
Okay, our question of the day. Our question of the day. What do you think of paid for money reviews? Let us know in the comments or in the chat. We will take responses at the end of the show, or we will respond to them at the beginning of the next show. So leave your thoughts in the comments or in the chat if you want to be responded to in.
Ones in the chat will get answered first. Trust me on this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Please be patient. We're new to answering for our crimes.
We also don't know how to answer questions or speak English, but other than that, we'll get there.
Okay,
Yeah,
first off, a brief history lesson. Who all remembers the website myped.ru?
I certainly do.
Yeah, no, I've seen it myself.
What is a website?
Don't ask and don't tell.
It's best that you don't maybe know what a website is, Ron. I think it'll help you out a lot in life.
Thanks, Mellow. I'll learn from this.
let's recap.
Do better. You will do, however, you will do better to forget that social media exists, including
Social what now?
Okay, back in 2017, myped.ru. MyPed.ru was a website that was involved with bribery, Mafia tactics, and doxing developers that have employed their services, but has reneged on payments. But can you name what the actual crime of MyPed.ru was?
Well, I mean, there was lots of crimes that was committed on the website. I mean, you list a few there, like doxing certainly is definitely up there.
Well,
I don't know if doxing
I'm
was
guessing
actually
IP
a
theft.
crime in 17. I know it was by 20.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, yeah, go ahead, Sanjay.
Well, in regards to Steam terms of service.
Oh,
Let's
well.
clarify.
Oh,
Well, I mean, in Steam terms of service, they were Well, I mean, in a way, it wasn't even against the Steam terms of service. They were gaming the greenlight system by offering free Steam keys in exchange for votes to get games onto the Steam store.
Oh, okay. That's how I remember them. They actually, a couple of their quote unquote games turned up in Greenlight gatherings.
Oh yes, and
Because that shit was fun. And these days, I kind of want to see Greenlight come back.
I kind of do, but I kind of don't at the same time.
Mm.
Dude, do you have any idea what I could do if I could restart the Greenlight gatherings?
Oh yes, absolutely. Had to survive death for finding this. When browsing through myped.ru again, since rebranded as spelled with 2 P's this time.
I call it MIPT because it's funny.
They've hidden it well, to be fair.
Mm.
There was a thread discussing a website called Obzor. That is the best that I can speak of the Russian language. The website, in its base terms, is a marketplace where developers go and buy positive reviews for their game. They do have so much security to try to stop average plebs like you and me from going in to gaining access to it and leaking the information from it. But that will change today.
Are you sure?
Well, no.
Viva la revolution.
Yeah, I mean, when Surveillance Death, because I was on a call with him when we were going through MIPT again, and he was screen sharing the whole thing, and the amount of security that was on there was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure it took, I can't remember how long, like half an hour, 40 minutes before we even got access to the website. It was asking for phone numbers, email addresses, Steam accounts. It was asking for maybe not official is the right word, but like trusted Steam accounts. So it needed evidence that you bought games. It needed evidence that you wrote reviews for games. So it kind of was the case that you couldn't just set up a second Steam account. You had to set up an account, buy some games, write some reviews for it. So there was quite a few. And you needed a Telegram account as well, because that's where they did a lot of their communication, because it was, I believe it had more security to it. It had more encryption.
Yes. Basically, you needed to submit evidence that, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Mellow, but you needed to submit evidence that you were actually a resident in the ruble zone. In the ruble zone, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they stated on the website. Yeah, they stated that you needed to be a resident in the ruble zone, and we found out that was mainly to do if I remember correctly. That was mainly to do with the payout system, because they were using 2 Russian payment means. The names totally escape me at the minute, unfortunately. But yeah, there was 2 payment methods that were listed that required you to be a Russian citizen or somewhere in the ruble zone.
Yeah, the names escape me as well, but
U-Money, thank you, SVD. It was U-Money was the main payment provider, and SVD brings up another point as well. When you were going through registering your Steam account to this website, as another security means to showcase that you in fact owned that Steam account, you had to change the real name on that Steam account temporarily to showcase, hey, I've gone on the back end, I've edited this profile, and now I've changed it back. So again, another layer of security.
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else. That seems a little anal to me.
It was. It really, really was. There was about 5 of us on the call, and it was like when we would figure out, we can do this for this, we can get this app up, we can generate a fake phone number, and then when we would do that, it was like, now we need to go and get something else. It was like, we were tearing our hair out quite a bit when we were on call together.
It sounds like fetch quests galore.
Yeah, no, it pretty much was. It was an elongated fetch quest that we were trying to pull off.
Might be worth turning it into a team building exercise.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. We definitely, team bonding. We definitely felt closer by the end of it.
Yeah. So once you're in, you're greeted with a homepage, which we will discuss in a little bit, and a page for rules, which are as follows, and I'll bring it up on the screen right now. I'm going to read this off for verbatim. A paid game must be purchased with real money or Steam balance. It is prohibited to activate a game with a key or gift. When writing a review, it is forbidden to check the game received for free checkbox. It is prohibited to delete or change a review after completing a task. It is prohibited to return the money for game after completing a task. The review should not contain the slightest hint that it was a paid review or that you did not play the game. Now, I'm going to stop right here, and can you explain point 5 for me?
The one about you can't suggest that it was a paid review or that you did not play the game?
Yes.
Yeah. So to elaborate a bit more, so the thread that this website was found on that had the owner on MIPT, they were basically giving some tips and tricks on the website, on the forum page, to basically say this is how you pull off this, and something that they encouraged you to do in order to basically complete your tasks quicker is, instead of actually playing the game, you make use of idling software so that you can hit certain time-stamped marks. So when you are going into review a game, you get sent this task. You're told, right, you need to play the game for 2 hours, write a positive review, then also play another hour after you wrote this review to show that you haven't just wrote the review and then left it. You've come back to return to play it. They encourage the use of idling software to basically fake that. And there was examples that I know, Sanjay, obviously we discussed and you're going to go about on later, but there was obviously examples where this was arguably very, very apparent that some users had done this because there was some problems with that system.
Well, yeah, if you copy paste.
Well, copy paste wasn't necessarily an issue because, I mean, like, I'm sure that I think there was even some people dissuading from, like, say, AI use or copy paste reviews. I think that was even against some of the rules the website put on, or if it wasn't on the rules, it was in the forum threads that the owner of the website was putting up. But it was more the fact that because they were idling games, they weren't unlocking achievements that you would get right at the beginning of the game. So then you would visit their profile and then you would clearly say, hey, they've played this game for 5 hours, but they haven't got the achievement for completing the first mission.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. That's a good one always.
Yeah, and we will showcase that a bit later.
But sometimes people aren't in it for the achievements.
Number 6, you cannot tell anyone you posted a paid review for the game. Number 7, Everyone must maintain complete anonymity
Anonymity.
and confidentiality.
Anonymity.
Anonymity.
Number 8. It is prohibited to contact players or customers outside the service.
Yeah, I mean, just to give a little bit of context to that, well, it was like what we mentioned earlier, where we needed to set up a Telegram account. That was where the bulk of, if you did need to make any report, it would go through a Telegram bot, and the administrators for the website would access it. That was basically a means so that no contact details were exchanged unnecessarily, because, like they say, anonymity and confidentiality was something that they were trying to really uphold. So they didn't want users, say, adding developers on Steam, because then obviously then you've got the friends list that you can cross-reference to. They wanted to completely try and leave as little of a footprint of this as possible.
Number 9. It is prohibited to create more than one account in the website service. Number 10. It is prohibited to copy text of other people's reviews. Number 11.
No, just your own.
Number 11. In case of violation of these operating rules, your account on the service will be blocked. Now, when you get to the homepage of this website, you'll see the orders. These are the fake review tasks. They disclose how much the game is, what the download size is, how long you are supposed to review the game, how many words long the review needs to be, and the cherry on top, how long the game is supposed to be played post-review.
Now, are these guys? Do these guys front the money to buy the games?
Initially, they do, yes, but the price of the game gets reimbursed to them after they've completed the review tasks. So, I mean, for example, that top review there, they disclose order number 1 on order number 714. The game is priced at 568 rubles. So they say that the reward will be 568 rubles, which is the price of the original game, plus 80 rubles for giving the positive review, which means you would get a total of 648 rubles.
Okay.
Stonks.
I don't know what. Okay, what is a ruble worth these days anyway?
Very, very little.
That part I understand. I got that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think that may even be the order that I did the maths on for the Sentinels article. So 80 rubles, I believe, came out as about 75 cents, 80 pence profit. So you don't get a lot of money.
You don't get a lot.
Yeah, but obviously some of these reviewers have thousands of reviews posted though. So
but if you add up the reviews, the profit does add up.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, in all of these orders, they will, at the very minimum, you get a free game and the price that you paid it for reimbursed. If not, you also get a little bit on top. And it's like what Survival and Death mentions in the chat there. That top order, for example, that was when the game was on a sale. So the developers often, what we found is they try and put these orders up at a time where the game's on sale and these reviewers can buy them for much cheaper. And then obviously it's much more cheaper for these developers to purchase the reviews because then they've got less to reimburse. And the key thing is, I mean, linking back to the rules, the main reason that they ask you to buy the game rather than them, say, just sending a key out is because if you buy the game, then it gets contributed to the aggregated Steam rating, which is what a lot more users pay attention to.
Right.
Yep. Because if I get one off with a key, it annoys the shit out of me because I don't actually get my reviews like that are often like just stuck in limbo somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean they don't get pushed through as much and they get segregated to an extent if they're key activated. They're treated with a bit less less seriousness, because obviously it has been open to abuse in the past.
What's if you take a look at the review at the orders at the post play hours, they wanted an additional half hour to an hour and a half of additional playtime for each of the two games that were listed on order 714 and 728. I don't know if SVD can clarify. I don't know if you and SVD can clarify this. But is half an hour to an hour and a half typical of post review play?
Do you mean in general, or do you mean on this site?
On this site.
I would say so. I mean, it does vary, but I would argue that I believe the ones that we saw, that they generally did ask for half an hour to an hour and a half after the review had been written.
And I don't know where we get a standard of post review play, honestly. 30 minutes to an hour and a half, okay, maybe. But we're looking at, but if somebody actually likes the game, they'll continue playing it for hundreds of hours sometimes. And if they were kind of meh on a game, they wouldn't do. They would just leave it alone. Or if they thought it was completely horrible, they'd only actually play it again if somebody stuck a gun to their head.
Well, the reason why the post review play it's to leave an impression that the reviewer just didn't leave a positive review and just scrammed. SVD hit the nail on the head here. Most requests ask for additional playtime after the review to make it further look legitimate.
I realize that's what they're doing, but that's a fail. That is a complete fail.
Well,
yeah, like if the person genuinely loves the game, it would be at least 10 hours post-review gameplay.
Well, it depends really, because if you're looking at a small-scale linear indie game, then a lot of people may not bat an eye at half an hour to an hour and a half. I mean, you guys are absolutely right. If it comes to a game, maybe say like Skyrim, 100 hours doesn't seem unreasonable, but you do have to sort of look at, I think, in the context of what these games actually are. And the majority, just looking at I know obviously Sanji would be coming on to this, but I mean, the examples that we discussed within the article, I think, I don't think on the surface level people would bat an eye at the play times post review. I mean, one was like a click of idle game, a first person slasher game, like a kind of shitty little mobile game dungeon crawler thing, and like a 2D platformer. Not necessarily would spend lots and lots of time in personally, but it would be enough to say that if you only spend half an hour to an hour and a half, that would seem sufficient to a user that's just casually browsing the store page and just looking it over.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, Mellow, but why don't we just name and shame the games right now?
Hey, yeah, sure.
Probably only some of them, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, just to further add some context, we like me, SVD, there was a few of us on the calls, me, SVD, Sid Alpha, my moderator, Rockula, and Connor from MMO Fallout were in a call together. SVD set up this whole account, and the idea was these tasks didn't actually name the games. You had to put an application in to review the games. So the developer or publisher, depending on whoever it was that made this task up, had to manually select which users they trusted to write the fake reviews, which is why SVD had to go off and like buy a load of games for a second account, write for some reviews for games that he did genuinely like. We didn't write any fake reviews, but it was just for the purpose of, right, we need to make this account look as authentic as possible, so that we're not just going in with an empty account and asking for these games. I think SVD sent off requests to all of the ones that were available, and we did get 5 back before the account got banned from the Obazor website for suspicious activity. Because effectively we were collecting the orders, but we weren't accepting or declining them. We were just letting them sit there. And the fact that it was kind of a new account, that we must have been a bit like, okay, what's going on with this?
Yes, and our first game on the pile happens to be a game called Lonely Night. Can you explain more about it, Mellow?
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure Lonely Night was the first one that we got the offer in from. This game in particular, I think, had the highest review score out of all of the games. If anything, though, it was almost the most unnoteworthy. I mean, it currently has on Steam 86% at the moment, but then you still get into that question of how many of these reviews were bought and paid for. But Lonely Night had, if you visited the store page, at least at the time when I wrote the article, and you had what was the requirements of writing that review that we've published in an Imgur album since, there was lots of reviews on the front page that matched that criteria, where they had to play whatever it was, like 2 hours first, write the review, and then play half an hour to an hour afterwards, and then you would see these same games crop up. That was when we started to realize, okay, these fake reviews are on the front page of this game. So that's when we kind of saw, okay, we're not just talking about some random in the corner review that not many people are going to look at. These are highly ranked reviews that have gotten onto the front page.
Right. Now we will discuss this in the aftermath section of the stream. But this one happens to have, you happen to have received special treatment when you revealed your article on this game, right?
Not on this one in particular, no. It was for 2 of the other ones. This one, in fact, I would argue was the most subtle in how they... I mean, all of the developers that we named have given either an indirect or a direct response to the claims that we made. But I mean, this guy literally just deleted the discussion, didn't ban me or anything. He just quietly hid the discussion, and that was it.
Okay. Our next game, and the reason for the archives in the first place, is Skippy Backrooms.
Skibbity Backrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, little meme title.
I was gonna say.
Now I don't know much about Skibbity. Can you explain this game and why it's on this list?
Yeah. So Skibbity, for those that don't know, it's quite a popular internet meme. I know that Connor in our Discord server is a massive fan of the Skibbity YouTube series. It's basically...
Those who don't know, we envy you.
Absolutely. From my understanding, and this might seem like an incredibly boomer way of describing it, but it's just from what I've seen on a surface level. It's basically they take source engine character models and stretch them into like ridiculous faces. It originated as, I think, Skibbity Toilet, where it's like source models coming out of a toilet, and I'm thinking, okay, this is so stupid, but hey, it went viral. Yes, genius. It went viral. It was so simple and stupid enough. It went viral. So what this developer did was they basically took the Skibbity formula and the Backrooms, or 2 very popular materials, and rammed them together to create Skibbity Backrooms. And I mean, with that one in particular, I mean, like you said, Sanji, it got archived because the game's no longer available now.
Oh, I was gonna pick it up.
Next on the list is Monsters Domain.
Yeah, this was actually the on the screenshot that you pulled up, Sanjay, this was the top order. Because this was when we were still trying to work out if SVD was going to be getting some of the requests through. Me and Sid went on some Steam DB entries and we tried to see about matching up some of the games' install size and pricing and tried to say, okay, so what recent games have this pricing model and are also matching up with the file size. And this was the only one that it took a while, and this was the only one that we kind of came up with. We're like, okay, this ticks all the boxes. And then when we kind of got the review service back, that was, oh, okay, so it is confirmed that this is the one. This developer had the most verbose of response, I would say, because they were the only ones that kind of did directly, in quite a few paragraphs actually as well, try to refute some of the accusations.
Now, some of the attempts at refutations were kind of out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got an article planned for Thursday where basically, I mean, I'll be discussing some of what I'll be putting in it here as well. I'm more than happy to, where I basically go over some of the aftermath of what's happened since that article. But the developer went on to the community hub and put up one sentence that addressed the article, and then just went on this massive tangent about hiring contractors from Fiverr, which
good God,
made very little sense to me, and didn't even. And then I think at some point when there was a couple of other users trying to be like, "You're not really answering the question here. What are you going to do about it? You've been accused of review manipulation," and they said, "Oh, we're not going to investigate this."
We investigated ourselves and found ourselves innocent.
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they just said, "Oh, we're not going to investigate this ourselves," which I think is incredibly dismissive, and I don't think was the right approach at all. But hey ho.
No, it wasn't. They don't care though.
Next is Silent Air, Silent Gods.
Yeah, Dragonair Silent Gods. This one I remember raised a few eyebrows, I think, because this one I would say it was arguably the most well known. I mean, you can see in the screenshot there, it's got over 2,000 reviews, and it's a free to play title. But I think it had some event on that was to be done in tandem with Dungeons and Dragons. But when we did publicize this, there was also some members on the Sentinels forums that weren't too surprised about it, because apparently these guys did have a history of what I'd say is at least questionable marketing and advertising. So like I was even linked to a Facebook post that they made, and it was like a giveaway that they were doing of like a Steam wallet card. And it was one of those cases where it was very much dancing around the topic sort of language, where they just skimmed off from saying that they wanted positive reviews in exchange for entering the giveaway. They basically said, "Oh, share us your great memories in the review section," stuff like that. Where it was like, oh, you're not asking for positive reviews, but you're heavily insinuating that you want them. You're heavily insinuating.
That is the veiled demand.
Yeah. It was enough to be like, that's dodgy, but not enough to be like, you are absolutely, at least in Valve's eyes, I would look at that and be like, that's dodgy, but you're not doing enough to take action on that. But obviously, when we got the evidence through that they were making use of that website, that were asking positive reviews, that's like, okay, no, that is more damning.
I do remember seeing ads for Dragonair everywhere and having absolutely no idea what the game even is. What kind of game it's even trying to be.
It would probably help.
It's just here is someone moving around an overworld, and that's all the gameplay footage.
It's kind of just like
something like that. Even the developers don't know what they're on about.
Yes,
and that can get really strange sometimes.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have Anyway Reborn.
This one was quite interesting because so for Lonely Nights, Ghibli Backrooms, Monsters Domain, Silent Gods, we all got those offers when our account was still up on Orbazor. Then SVD got a notification saying, "Hey, we've had a 5th offer." But then when he visited the site, that was when he found out our account got banned, and it got banned before we could see this 5th game. And SVD was absolutely kicking himself for missing it. But then, because about 5-6 days later, or a few days after our account got banned, because we set up the Telegram profile, we got an automated message from the Obzor website bot, even though we had no account up anymore. And they said, "Hey, by the way, you still need to write your review for Anyway." So we were like, "Oh, that's the missing game."
And no way to turn it?
And yeah, that led us to the 5th game that we got.
Now, some of the reviews were highly suspect. Let me make sure I got the right one. Here we go. This one for Monsters Domain was very, very suspect. A few hours into Monster Domain, I'm genuinely impressed. The immersive world and the unique monster mechanics help to keep the gameplay engaging and fresh. This is somebody with 2.3 hours at review time. And when I captured the screenshot of this review, he had 6.3 hours on record. The review has since been nuked.
I bet.
You want to know why? As you can see,
The account got nuked?
The review.
Oh,
As you can see in the next couple of slides, this is his
Achievement record.
game. This is his Steam record.
Yeah.
You can see Monsters Domain at the bottom, and
A few others above it that don't have
any achievements. And
Achievements.
Monsters Domain has 0 achievements out of 33 at 2.3 hours on review time.
Well, it must be pretty hard to get.
Well, I mean, for example, one of the achievements
It's
is
hardcore.
just completing the combat training.
It must be difficult training.
It must be very difficult training.
starting the game.
It's almost like you didn't actually play the game and you just used an idling software.
I wonder-
No.
He would.
Since
He's such a nice fellow, though.
He has since actively got 10 achievements.
Yeah. He's had the initiative to go back and actually play the game and unlock some achievements.
Do you reckon he had a good time playing it, though? Like, genuinely?
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not, since we got caught red-handed using idling software.
Yeah. I was hoping some fun would have come from it.
Oh, you could.
Let's
I don't know
discuss
why would they bother with idling software? You could just like pick it up. You could just you could turn the game on and then just walk away for the next 4 hours.
I think it might be because when you like launch a game on a device, then you can't then launch a second game. So I think these guys might be like getting these offers in on bulk, and then use the idling software to idle like say 6 or 7 games at a time.
You know
so
what? That's not true. That is absolutely untrue.
How's that?
You can, in fact, run 2, 3, 5 games as long as you got the power under the hood.
Every time that I go to launch a game, it says, "Oh, this account is still currently playing this game. You need to close it down before we are able to launch another game."
Mine's never done that.
Okay,
Ever.
Croc is the exception.
See, I have a game running right now.
Cool.
Now, let me grab this one right here. Launching. Come on. You can do it. This is going to take a sec because, yeah, reasons. Oh, come on.
Anyway, Sandra, while Croc's sorting that out, do you want to?
So let's go into the aftermath of the Steam Sentinels article. The game Skibby Backrooms has since been banned, but so far that's been the only response out of Valve.
I mean, yeah, somewhat until. I mean, I'm not sure if you can call it a response until I got my response from support today about the ban that got placed on me. But yeah, Skibbity Backrooms got banned. I think either 1 or 2 days after the article went up, and we're still not 100% sure what the reasoning is. I'm not sure if it's to do with the contents of the article, because I would be thinking, well, why didn't the rest of these games go along with that? Some were thinking and theorizing,
Might be for copyright infringement.
Well, that was the other theory. Some people were saying, could it be copyright infringement? But the thing is, when DMCAs are filed, I've not seen a case where a developer gets their whole catalog banned, and this developer had other games that also went down at that time. And usually, if it's a DMCA complaint, it's usually just that one game that goes down, whereas that obviously wasn't the case, and they had lost 2 of their other titles that they had released as well.
Well, if I had my Monopoly money bet, I would place it on the fact that there was allegations on Skibby Backrooms having crypto miners.
Yeah, there was accusations about that because obviously Skibbity Backrooms was only marginally in the positives for reviews. I think it was at 72% before it got taken down. And some of the top negative reviews were complaining about it having a Bitcoin miner. Obviously, I've got no evidence for that. That's only what people on the Steam reviews were saying. But, I mean, it could potentially be that it may very well still be tied to the fake reviews, but maybe when Valve had a look more into it, there was something on platform that they were able to pull on that game for and not the other games, which meant it was a bit more concrete for them to prove.
Yes.
But at the moment, it's just up to theories for that.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, I have that for you now. It's the second game is being weird. I'd like to set itself off the screen, but I can still show you. Hey, ready?
Ready.
Born ready.
Hey, don't mind my desktop here. Here's the second game. Come on.
Wrong folder. No, I'm joking.
No. That's see. If you'll look there.
Yeah.
Okay, fair play.
Second story R. And now I can close it.
Fair play. Okay, I did not know you could do that.
You can.
Sorry, I wasn't ready. Can you repeat that?
No, this is a thing that you can do. Some people aren't big fans of it. I'm sure, but I've had no problems doing it. As a matter of fact, there was I forget what it was. They wanted you to have X number of hours in a specific game or a specific set of games. And I launched 7 or 8 of them, and then I went to bed.
But put it this way, then, using idling software still makes the process easier because then you aren't reliant on a heavy resource of your computer to do it.
I'll give you that. I'm not saying, but I was arguing that it's not impossible.
Of course, yeah, no, you've correctly demonstrated it is very much possible. But then
anything's possible with Jesus.
I would still probably argue the theory that.
Oh, I can stop sharing that now.
I'd still
I don't think he'd stand by you doing that.
Okay, in the examples we showcased, I'm quoting your article now, Mello.
Mm.
Skibby Back Rooms, since removed from Steam, sat at 71% mostly positive. We don't know how much was helping from fake positive reviews. It was 2 points off from a mixed review aggregation, with some negative reviews even alleging it was a Bitcoin miner. A similar story, minus the crypto miner claims, can be said about Anyway. Its current aggregation also sits at 71%, which was updated to 70%. How much of this was potentially done to quash some of the negative reviews?
Well, I mean, in cases of Anyway, Skibbity Backrooms very much could have been that they got those positive reviews to try and quash some of the Bitcoin miner reviews. Because I mean, even when I went to the store page when it was still up, even though it was mostly positive, the 2 top reviews were negative, saying, "Hey, it's a Bitcoin miner." And I mainly look at I think in the article I particularly highlighted Anyway, Skibbity Backrooms, and Monsters Domain, because they were literally on the cusp of another rating. Like Monsters Domain was close to being mostly negative, but it was propped up to a mixed rating. Anyway, and Skibbity Backrooms was close to mixed ratings, but was propped up to mostly positive. Because at the end of the day, and like a lot of people are just going to look at that aggregated rating to see a general sense of, okay, what are people generally looking at? Because a lot of the times people don't want to have to sift through lots of written reviews nowadays. They'll have their YouTubers that they go to, but especially for some smaller indie games on Steam that don't get a lot of attention, they will very much rely on the Steam review system. But they may very well start off and stop at what the aggregated rating is without looking into the details.
Right.
That's a bad place to start and stop. It really is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And especially if you want to buy one to actually buy a game, you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. Please, people, just if you think don't look at the Steam review, don't look at the Steam reviews and the actual rating. Or if you do, don't stop there. Go back, look at some of the positive reviews, then switch it to negative and look at those. Somewhere in the middle is probably going to be the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too complicated for me. I just pick yes.
No, you're absolutely right. That I mean, what I would recommend is that is the approach most people obviously take.
That's the approach I use if I'm buying games for myself. Then that's the only approach, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one that's actually guaranteed to work, even.
Now, Lovely Night was the most blatant.
Yeah.
Well,
at least on a surface level. Because I mean, even though that was the most blatant, you still had to know about the scheme first before you were able to. So once you knew it, you could see it. But if you were just a casual user going on to the store page, like again, since these guys, I'll praise them, since these guys were very efficient in trying to cover up their tracks. If you did just go in blind, then of course you would. Of course you would see. You'd not be able to see what was going on. It looks like it's just users playing a game and writing something genuine about it, and it's bought. They bought the game on Steam.
Well, buying a game is not necessarily an indicator of quality of review. In fact, it's really not.
Well, no. Well, I mean, me and you may look at it that way, but with the Steam system, they separate those reviews, and obviously they weight the ones that have bought the game much more so than the key reviews, because obviously the key reviews don't get included in the aggregation rating, and then the ones that have bought the game do.
Okay, so why don't we have some questions and answers for our guest?
I mean, I'm happy to, because I mean, I'm conscious we haven't gone over some of the responses. I'm happy to go over some of the responses while any questions come in.
And while we do that, while we wait for the questions to come in, I will go over a couple of responses for our question of the day, which is, what do you think of paid for money reviews? Our first response comes from Survivalent Death himself. Paid reviews suck and ruin the integrity of the platforms that they propagate on.
Well, that's
I
just
can
like
get behind
your
that.
opinion, man.
I can actually get behind that opinion. It's actually not a bad place to start.
I've got a comment from Tony the Tiger, which says they're great.
Yeah, okay.
That might be on the back of a cereal box. My bad. Never mind.
Well, you know what? Tell
I think
Tony
he was
I'm still
paid to
looking-
say that.
Maybe.
Tell Tony I'm still looking for him, and the message. Where's the money, Lebowski?
Very true.
Well, he's kind of gone offline so that he can avoid furries trying to date him.
Yeah, he's a bit of a frosty guy.
Haha.
Thanks, man.
And we got another one from Red Jed Vlogs. Got to the question of the day segment, joined late. I don't think reimbursing someone for reviews is a good thing. He later goes on to say, reimbursing someone for reviews based on their implied endorsement of it, especially.
I've got almost an extension to your question there, Sanji, because I know obviously that question was written very much so in the terms of you receiving money for the reviews. But what's more so even to the chat to the panel as well. What's your general thoughts on if someone receives a game for free? What do you think that is? That leads to a level of impartiality that can't be reached because you've received a paid product for free out of the genuinity of the developer.
I think it depends on the conditions, really, doesn't it?
If I'm reviewing a game, it doesn't matter how it comes about. It's, as far as I'm concerned, that's just making your life less expensive. But then I'm weird. My opinions are most decidedly my own. I'm not gonna feed their delusions. If their game sucks, I'll tell them. As a matter of fact, you can go back and look at. There's a website I've been writing on for a while here, and I've had some reviews that the publishers or the devs really didn't like. But it's the drastic measure with the K instead of C. And you can see, look at the one for Hellpoint, especially. The one for Hellpoint, there's a couple of others.
Yeah. News travels east, then up.
Oh no, this one here wasn't east. This one was, it could still be east. It's faster to get to Japan going west from here, but this was. I don't know. I am uncertain as to who actually made the game. I could probably find out what their nationality is, but that might just be a case of poisoning the well. So I'm going to not do that. If the Sentinels want the name of the publisher in question or the devs, I'm not sure which, then I will provide that for them.
Ocular Malice is saying, I reviewed games that I received for free that I blasted. Doesn't matter. If the game sucks, it sucks, regardless of how much or little I paid for it.
See, there you go. That's exactly what I'm telling him. Well, I have yet to actually be paid for a review. Period.
I remember. I'm sure I got an email, and I think it only happened the once, where I'm sure we got offered some sort of money to. I think this wasn't even on Sentinels. Even I think this was on my personal QA page, That was a very weird experience. I think it was like even $50. They weren't even going to pay too much, but I was like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this.
Huh.
And I also payment in kind sorts of things. Yeah, no, that doesn't work either. Total Biscuit got all kinds of mad. They sent him a game already installed on a really nice laptop, and he sent it back. Said no.
Insane.
I would do the same thing.
Yeah, you and me both, and that's why I brought it up. That's what you call a payment in kind.
I've just realised, Sanjay, I've not actually spoken about the community ban that I got yet, have I?
Ooh, no, I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. They want to know. They want to know really bad.
So I mean, it kind of goes back to the aftermath section. So I'm jumping back. I can talk about in case there's any more answers that come in the chat at all. But I got several different responses from the developers after the article. I mean, the Orbazor website redirects now to Keymailer for some reason. You can no longer access the website.
I can imagine why it would do that.
But in terms of the individual developers, like I mentioned, Lonely Knight kind of had the most subtle response. They kind of just deleted the discussion that was talking about it and then didn't say anything on it, didn't ban anybody, was quite covert about it. Skibbity Backrooms obviously got banned. But then I also got, I found quite funny. After the game got banned, 3 hours after the game got banned, the developer banned me from the forums. And I'm like, does it even matter? The forums aren't you can't get to the forums anymore. It's banned. I mean, you can, but you need to have a direct link to it. So I'm like, was there even any point? So I'm like, is there even any point? And then SVD kind of said, well, I think it was kind of just a middle finger to you in a way that they did that after the fact.
And it probably was.
Monsters Domain, I mean, like, I don't think I've got the time to go over their response, but they left paragraphs and paragraphs. I briefly touched upon it before. They went on for this massive, almost unrelated tirade about this Fiverr marketer that they didn't even really link too well into what I was talking about. It almost was like they didn't read the article. They just kind of stopped at the title, saw it was being posted in their form, like, oh, we have not done this, but then didn't really try and rebuke the evidence that was shown. They kind of just said, oh, we've outsourced a lot of our marketing to Fiverr, and they have their, I'm sure they said along the lines of, they have their ways that we don't fully understand, which I'm like, right, okay, so you're trusting people that have marketing means that you don't fully understand that could effectively be violating your distributor's rules. Yeah. Dragonair banned me from their forum as well, and Anyways was just confusing. They didn't say anything. They just moved the topic to a bug forum that they had, and then just didn't do anything about it.
Well, that's kind of twisted. Why would they do that?
But anyway, so like I got a ban on the Skibbity Backrooms community hub, and I got a ban on the Dragonair one, and that was 2 bans that came about in the span of 4 days. I woke up this morning and I got a notice from Steam saying, hey, I didn't even have a notice from Steam. I went on my phone and found I couldn't comment anywhere. I couldn't make any discussions anywhere. I was no longer the owner of Sentinels for about 9 hours. It defaulted over to Ratchet, and it basically, I went on my laptop, so like, what the hell's going on here? And it said, oh, we've put a 1-day community ban on your account because you've had too many consecutive community hub bans. And I'm like, this is bullshit. What? So 2 random developers that are engaging in violation of your terms of service can ban me from their forums, and I can't. I've got a community ban, and I can't access my groups, my pages, or anything. That seems very twisted. So I contacted Steam support and said, hey, look, I've got this community ban. First of all, what's triggered this? I obviously suspected, but I wanted to be known for certain. And I got a response back just before I came on the stream. They've overturned it now. I've got full access back. And the support rep said that it was automatically assigned to my account because of 2 consecutive bans that came from Skibbity Backrooms and Dragonair. And they agreed with me that I should not have received a community ban for that. and they've now reinstated all my privileges.
Oh wow.
Well, that's nice of them.
It was, yeah. No, in Steam Support's defense, they were very, very, very nice.
How did it feel to get your white privilege back?
Honestly, when I woke up and saw that I was banned, I was pissed. I was genuinely so pissed. Because there was so many thoughts going through my mind. I'm thinking, wait a minute. Because this was the other thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention. I didn't know if this was temporary because the mobile version was not showing me anything. So I was thinking, is this permanent? Is this temporary? What's going to happen? And then I'm saying, I'm not even the owner of the group anymore. I'm like, what's going to happen to this group if I can't access anything? Is Ratchet able to post on my behalf? Is that against the rules? Is he not allowed to publish content from someone that's been community banned? I'm like, I'm going to have to go through the rules. And like all this sort of shit was going through my head until I went on like, okay, just a day. I'm still annoyed, but it's just a day. So I was thinking, okay, I can live with that. Not happy, but when I got the overturn, I'm like, okay, this is the best result I could have gotten from that.
Right.
Because now Steam have also effectively made a statement of he is fully fine to post this stuff. They haven't done anything about it, which is still annoying, but they at least haven't just sort of sat by and let these guys try and put a ban on my head.
That's the point where I still say better than nothing.
Yes, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's a step in the right direction for sure.
Yes, yeah.
Justice will be served.
It's like usually it's like when it's just, hey, your case is unusual, because usually when someone gets banned from multiple forums in a few days, that it's usually because they're toxic trolls.
Mm-hmm. No, well, that's the thing. I mean, Steam, I think, in some ways rightly, in some ways wrongly, they allow the developers to just police their own forums, and that's fair to an extent because obviously Steam can't be expected to moderate every single game's community hub. But then it's obviously you'll see these cases of bad actors just abusing some of their moderation privileges.
Yes, remember rule number 1, guys?
Yeah, don't be a dick.
These guys aren't following it. And therefore they wind up with Mellow's complete and undivided fucking attention.
It was quite.
Well, they
ironic,
also end up with games banned off Steam.
But it was very ironic because, like, with this case in particular, we'd intentionally sent everything that was in our article over to Valve in advance, which we sometimes do, sometimes don't. But this one we sent them it very, very more in advance than we usually do, because we were conscious that if this goes out, then they will do what we've said. They'll clamp down the site, they'll close it down, they'll close off the revenues that we can find out more about these games. But Valve just didn't respond to what was going on when we were sending out our emails to them, which was, again, annoying. But if they choose, even if it's just an email back to say, hey, thanks, we're looking into it, that would have been fine. Or even if it was just a thanks, we're not going to look into it. Fine, I won't be happy, but fine. At least you've said. But the silence is really what annoys me the most about it, when they just don't respond to what I think is quite some urgent queries.
Honestly, I think that the 800 game ban wave that happened on 3.1 is going to be child's play if Valve reacts the way that I think they're going to react to.
Well, that's the thing as well. It's not out the window that they will react to this. The fact that they've kind of came in my favour in terms of the community ban is a bit reassuring. But then you also wonder, is this just the beginning of them looking more into these? Are they trying to get them in one fell swoop? But then again, why ban Skibbity Backrooms? Why just do something like that? There was even another forum on MIPT. Sorry, I still want to call it MyPed, but it's MIPT now. That part of that ban wave that you mentioned there, Sanji, apparently did have some games involved in the scheme included in there. and that got some of the MIPT users panicked, thinking, "Oh shit, is Valve onto us? Is this the beginning of our scheme getting shut down?" But then it was for that they were banned for an unrelated reason, separate to the Obzor website. I do also just want to
because they were
Digital
committing more than
homicide
one crime.
You guys remember what happened to Digital Homicide after we tore apart their lawsuit?
Well, I mean, Valve's official reasoning behind Digital Homicide's removal was more akin to, well, I suspect down to Digital Homicide
Trying to cheat Valve out of their cut.
Well, yeah, part might have been part of that, but the official reason that Valve gave was that they were being hostile to Steam users. But really, I think it was probably because it was at that point that James Remine sent the subpoena to Steam saying, "I want these 100 Steam users' names," and then Valve were like, "We don't want to get this to be legal, so
trying to sue Steam users."
Yeah. I do also, before I forget as well, I do want to give a quick shout out to a Steam community group that I was made aware of quite recently called Games with Paid Reviews. And these guys were actually on these fake reviewers before we were as well. They didn't know the ins and outs, but they were able to identify some games that were involved in what they suspected was some sort of scheme. They obviously just didn't know the ins and outs of it. But if you look it up on Steam, they do a fantastic job. So their whole curator is dedicated to tagging games that are manipulating the reviews, and just aren't disclosing any compensation as well. It's a fantastic little curator that me and SVD have came across recently, and we think it's definitely worth everyone on the panel and obviously people watching the stream's attention. It's fantastic.
Oh.
Mellow was mipping me off with his pronunciation of MyPed. It was MyPed, SVD. They've rebranded now though. It's MIPed.
The future is now, old man.
Unfortunately,
improved.
Unfortunately, I would like to thank Mello for being on here for today. But unfortunately,
thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Unfortunately, this is where
we must thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, we must.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we must leave you for this week. Melody, as our guest, do you have any final thoughts before we take off for this week?
In general,
yeah. What are you feeling?
I'm feeling very mellow.
Nice, man.
Nice.
That is definitely a place to start.
Yeah.
So, as a reminder, do all the YouTubey things.
Like, comment, subscribe, show it to everybody, whether you know it or not. Share, and like.
And beware, the tax man cometh.
Hello, folks. This is Morgan Freeman. This concludes our broadcast day. I'm Morgan Freeman. Good night.